Hi, welcome to the session number one, projects in organizations. In this session, we are going to talk about the organizational perspective in terms of implementing a project. Why you need to talk about the strategy in terms of project management is simply due to the fact that the strategy is implemented through projects. Every project should have a clear link to the organizational strategy. Now, if I ask you a question, have you seen projects fail? If you answer yes, some of these projects have been failed due to the fact that the project teams did not understand the bigger picture, did not understand the strategic perspective, strategic involvement of the project. So therefore, your focus, the project team's focus might be in a very narrowed set of goals that they think their role is just to implement the project. The trick is that if you don't understand the link between the projects that you execute, the projects that you plan, and the organizational strategy, there's a huge gap. Due to that gap, what you do might not be the right thing in terms of project implementation. So when you don't have a clear understanding or understanding about the link between the projects that you execute, projects that you plan, and the strategic objectives of the organization, there can be many problems. Some of these problems are listed down here. First, poor resource utilization. When you don't understand the bigger picture of the strategy, what the company is trying to achieve as a whole, you will not be in a position to contribute effectively. Therefore, your resource allocation will not be strategic. It might be just tactical in order to meet the project requirements. But there can be major high profile, high severity projects where you lack the resources because your resources are being allocated to the projects that are given to you. Yes, you have to work on them, but in comparison to the other higher priorities, maybe the right thing would be to allocate the resources into some other priorities. So you need to be careful. The second thing is cooperation. For understanding about the strategy and the link between strategy and project goals will also lead to less cooperation. People will not be in a position to collaborate effectively because they probably would think their priority is to deliver the project assigned to them. But if all the teams understand their projects and their relation to the company strategy, they should be in a much better position to collaborate well in order to do the right thing, decide the right priority, and then move on. The third problem that you may face due to the lack of understanding about the strategy and the project objectives would be poor communication. This gap will lead to poor communication between teams and people within the organization. That, of course, leads to stress. You would have seen teams under stress, a lot of pressure, just because they try so hard to deliver certain project objectives without effective understanding about the strategy, the company's strategic direction. It also may cause for more project failures because if you don't understand the strategy, what you are doing is pretty much a tactical job. Your effort is mainly focused on delivering the assignment given to you. So therefore you need to look at the strategy, always understand the link between strategy and the projects that you have been planning and executing. The next problem you may face due to lack of understanding of the strategy and the link between strategy and the project is adverse effect on profitability and staff morale. Now, when you have a lot of projects in progress, when the project teams don't understand the link between their projects and the strategy, project teams might compete with each other, which is highly unessential, non-necessary in the company's perspective, because company has a common vision, common set of goals, strategies that need to be achieved. So therefore, the teams and the individual project teams need to understand the link between their project priorities, project goals, and the strategic objectives. Now let's have a look at what a strategy is. A strategy is a commitment to undertake one set of actions rather than another, said by Sharon M. Oster. Now, this gives us a very useful insight above this particular term. Why you need to have a strategy yourself for your project team, for your project organization is simply due to the fact that the requirements are limitless, right? When you consider a given time frame, whether it's a month, year, or multiple years, what you need to do, what you have to do would be a lot of requirements. But considering your budgetary constraints, timeline, you probably need to decide a set of commitments that you can make yourself. So that is where you need to you need a strategy. Now, if I ask you, what is a well-conceived strategic vision and mission? Well, it's obvious. It's a vision and a mission well articulated, well thought of in terms of the long-term future of the organization. Now, the next question, what is the managerial value of a well-conceived strategic vision and mission? Well, there can be many benefits. So let's have a look at some of the benefits. As per my thinking, when you have a clear strategy, right, strategic vision and a mission for your organization, it crystallizes the long-term direction. You are not doubtful about your 25 years of time. You know what exactly you want to be in long term. So this allows the organization to be very clear and then start moving towards the long-term direction. Secondly, a well-conceived strategic vision and a mission reduces the risk of rudderless decision making. When you know your future, when you know your long-term strategy, you're not going to make decisions that will distract that. Third, conveys organizational purpose and identity. As an organization, what is your purpose? Why do you exist? This needs to be clear. In most of the cases, at least quite a significant number of companies and organizations might not be there. They might not know what the reason they exist, right? This confuses the organizational staff, this confuses the project teams. Therefore, what they do in terms of their priorities might not be the right thing. So it's absolutely crucial that you get the organizational purpose and identity clear. So creating a well-conceived vision, strategic vision, and a mission will help you to get there. The next thing is it keeps direction related actions of lower level managers on common path. Now another problem the organizations may face would be to have a proper connection between the middle level management and the senior level management. What senior level management thinks might not be what the middle level management would be thinking. Therefore, their decision making, the priorities, and the way they execute, uh, everything would change. So it's important to have a well-conceived strategic vision and a mission to direct the lower level managers effectively. Lastly, a well-conceived strategic vision and a mission helps the organization prepare for the future. When a company knows what's their strategic goal or strategic vision, it allows the people in that organizations to prepare for the future. In everything they do, they think of the long-term goals, long-term strategy that the company wants to achieve. Now, let's have a look at creating a strategy. In order to create a strategy, first you need to understand what the strategy deals with. Generally, any company strategy, organizational strategy deals with the following. Number one, it talks about how to make the strategic vision a reality and achieve the target objectives. So any organization will have set of strategic objectives. So the company strategy will deal with the how part. How do we achieve these strategic objectives? The strategy also talks about the game plan for pleasing the customers, conducting operations, building a sustainable competitive advantage, and whatever the other strategic goals could be. Based on what your strategic objectives are, the strategy of your company will need to talk about the game plan in getting to those strategic objectives. Strategy constitutes management's business model for producing good profitability. So the strategy essentially needs to talk about looking at the business operations perspective, business model, and making it a profitable deal for the company. All right, so we have discussed a few basics about the strategic management, and here's a summary. So strategic management basically talks about what we are, what we intend to be, how we are going to get there. Link mission, goals, objectives, strategy, and implementation. Top down and bottom up, right? So you look at from top to bottom, and then you go from bottom to top in order to think through what you have prioritized as an organization to execute. So it will allow you to adjust whatever the activities, whatever the priorities, in order to deliver the best value, expecting the best return on investment. Strategy also allows you to get the buy-in from your stakeholders and the clients. Project managers have an important role to play in creating a strategic management approach, in implementing it. So let's have a look at one of the examples. Airbus A380. 3rd October 26th, they announced that they need an additional year to complete the project. Finally, it got 2 years late. Original budget was 7.4 billion. Now it is estimated at 10 billion. New head of project, 7 out of 8. 192 orders are received by the company, just 8 delivered. Impressive, isn't it? Why? Let's have a look at why. Why did that happen? First, complexity is underestimated. So one of the overlooked areas for the project teams is overlooked complexity. So if you are not in a position to judge the complexity effectively, that's gonna cause a lot of failures, a lot of delays, a lot of troubles during your project. Second, wiring. So you underestimated training needs and complexity of the training. Customization, how much customization was required, was underestimated as well. Boeing strategy, mid-size market, it was focused on primarily mid-size market, so they did not foresee a lot of bulk orders to receive, but they did and delayed. So they delayed the implementation. Strategies through projects. Let's have a look at how could an organization implement strategies through projects, project implementation. Now, when you have a proper strategy, the strategic objectives may become project milestones. This is how it works. So at the strategic level, you will come up with a set of strategic objectives for the organization for a given period of time. So looking at the strategic objectives of your organization, the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to come up with a portfolio, a set of programs and projects. So the milestones or the objectives in that strategic document will become the project milestone. Sometimes portfolio goals. From portfolio goals, then you think of the program objectives. From the program objectives, you will have project level milestones. So generally, the objectives in strategic documents are specific, measurable, assignable, realistic, and time related. So this will allow the project teams and the organizations to look at these objectives and then start planning. So looking at the strategic objectives, the companies can assign and allocate resources effectively, which leads to effective project management practices. So we'll know what your strategic direction, and based on the strategic direction, you will assign the resources. That includes the human resources as well as non-human resources. So it also allows you to prioritize. Now, this is a critical aspect. If any organization needs to work on their strategic goals effectively, they need to prioritize. That means there will be hundreds and thousands of priorities coming in one single year. So how they could manage these things effectively is through proper prioritization. So through proper prioritizations, they will prioritize the right objectives, and based on those objectives, they will initiate the right projects. Through proper strategies, you can also get the organizational support. When the organization is clear what direction they are heading, what strategic goals they need to achieve during a given time frame, that will allow the other teams and members of the organizations to understand what the company is trying to achieve, therefore fully support the same objectives. It also allows planning and control systems. So when you want to manage your strategies through projects, you need to work on effective planning and control mechanisms. Finally, proper strategies, well-conceived strategies will create a lot of excitement within the organization, leading to high-performance teams, autonomous teams, right? So it's also believed that when you have a very long-term, clear strategy as an organization, it allows to empower the people within the organization. Clarity of purpose is key. If you trust that statement, you will fully understand the importance of a clear, well-conceived strategy for the organization as well as the project team. So it avoids conflicts. It will not allow people to get confused about their priorities. Therefore, no conflicts. It minimizes the effect of organizational politics. Most of our organizations, we have a lot of politics distracting the team's priorities and effectiveness. Third, priority is clear. So when you have clarity of purpose, it will allow you to prioritize effectively, knowing your highest priority items. You're gonna work on your projects. It will also allow you to allocate the resources to fit the need. You are not going to over allocate the resources, allowing them to just be idle for months and months. It also allows you to learn from the previous projects. When you have a clear purpose, your activities, everything that you do will be aligned to that, right? In case you deviate, when you fail in certain project situations, that becomes a learning. Finally, it focuses on what is best for the company and its customers. So when you have a clear purpose, it will allow you to do everything in order to benefit the company as well as its client.